Again, it gets me. Welcome everyone to In the Metal. Thank you for joining us. My name is Johnny McElherron. I am based in Ireland and have been working in the independent world for the last 20 plus years. And so it's great to be back and in talking about my favorite subject once again. We are doing a second edition of the coverage of the Phillips in association with Bax and Russo Geneva Watch Auction 23, which took place on the previous weekend in May 2026. And the reason that we're doing this is because we're going to look specifically on some of the pocket watches that were that passed through the sale last weekend, and for a number of reasons. One, because they've broken out. These pieces, most of them have defied the estimates by multiples in some cases. But before we go on any further, I am delighted to be joined from Delray Beach in Miami, USA, my friend, the one and only Dan Spitz. How the hell are you, Dan?
Hey, Johnny, and hello, everybody. Glad to be here and be part of this as always, man. This is In the Metal, and I was always in the metal. I'm still in the metal. I'm still cutting metal, and everything is metal. Metal. Yeah, man. What's going on? It's just crazy. You know, isn't it, John?
Look, man, absolutely. Whenever I was looking at these results at the weekend, I thought I had to get on the Dan Spitz hotline to wake the giant and say, "Man, let's get up here and get talking about these things." And so, yeah, it's been an amazing kind of awakening for me, because yes, I pay attention to what's going on in the auctions, as most people who are in the industry are use it as kind of a litmus test to what's happening and what's moving, and what's mostly from my point of view is how the independents are faring. Mm-hmm. And but I spent a long time this weekend looking at the overall sale. And like for the record, the Geneva Watch Auction 23, or XXIII, broke records with the turnover that they achieved. They exceeded, for the first time ever, I think, $100 million in a sale over 245 lots, and so hammer price plus commissions, I think they exceeded 100 million. They exceeded 85 million euro and 78 million Swiss francs. So the records tumbled on this event, and there were some amazing pieces. I have to say, the episode that we did with Jay a few days ago, looking at some of the highlights from.
But what's really amazing is, you know, when I grew up, there was auctions. There's always auctions for art. There's auctions for everything. It's always antique. You know, we say antique. Now it's vintage watches or vintage, whatever it was. Well, when the person has passed away, and one of his inventions he was working on as a prototype, right, in watchmaking. Yeah. This is going crazy for people like, you know, in Indy that are alive, and it's not just like a little bit. It's going crazy because people who are in or collecting for investment reasons now, they're in it for long term, just like people who collect art, very long term. So they know what's going to happen in Indy. You know, 50 years from now, they know it's just all these prototypes, all these runs of 1 through 10 limited series are just going to be astronomically priced, I think, at that point. And now to see this rolling. I mean, we've all been waiting for like pocket watches, not ones that are the world's most complicated and, you know, something like that, but just for all these pocket watches that have been buried in safes forever because they're not the most popular thing in the world to just pop, and they just popped.
I mean, well, you can't really wear a pocket watch the way that you can flaunt a wristwatch. You can have the latest trend on your wrist. Pocket watches were obviously designed for a completely different time, a completely different culture, a completely different way of life, and how
I would like to. I have some ideas, and I've had some for a while for my future. For something, because first of all, now we have a lot more crime worldwide, a lot more people, and I've gotten a lot of calls from my past profession in music, just people, very famous artists in heavy metal, just make a pocket watch and I'll buy it. Not old-fashioned pocket watch, or has done some cool stuff, something cool, because we can't really wear a watch all the time, playing music and traveling the world. Going out trying to find Audemars at 2 a.m. in the middle of Greece somewhere or something, but you can keep something buried in your pocket, and still keep it with you. So I think it's cool that there's this resurgence. I hope it spreads like anthrax.
Well, here, isn't there?
I'm trying, bro. I'm trying.
Yeah. Isn't there a delicious irony that the week that we are going out with our pocket watch special, what is dominating the watch headlines all around the world? The royal pop, and it's this.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think about that. Boy, they luck out on that PR rollout.
What we're talking about, the royal pop, folks, in case you're watching this in 2 weeks' time and it's faded into history, is the new piece that was been released by Audemars Co and Swatch. And it has obviously, as soon as it's come out, it has become the subject of hot discussion. And you're going to be delighted to know that we are going to spend the next hour not talking about it. So, there's plenty of other good folk out there with plenty of thoughts, plenty of commentary, and plenty of opinions on that piece. We are going to sort of slide past that one, and that's cool. And I'm going to look at something else. We're going to look at some of I've selected about 4 or 5 of these pocket watches that had that literally starred at the Phillips in association with Bax and Russo, who I thank for the use of their images in this episode. And these pieces starred. When I say they defied expectations, sometimes I'm not sure whenever the auction houses are setting these estimates, if they're kind of playing with it and teasing, but however that works, I don't know obviously how that works, but in some cases the estimates seem to be fairly on the mark or not too far away from it. In others, they whenever 2 bidders decide they want that watch, and they can go to extremes in terms of value, what they're prepared to pay for it. That's when it becomes interesting. So, but it's not only the price of these watches or the value that some of them, the figures that some of them have achieved. I was looking through them, and the technical.
It's the rarity of the technical. Okay.
The technical.
What you want to call
innovation.
What do you want to start with, the Louis Richard, or what do you want to start with?
Let's go looking at the Louis Richard. So, the Louis Richard was a triple detente constant force 1 minute tourbillon chronometer.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see if I can find it here. I believe that's it there.
Yes, sir.
Dan. So this is a piece. And we'll start off with the heavy hitter, I guess, because the estimate on this piece by Phillips was between 100 and 200,000 Swiss francs. It achieved 3.968 Swiss francs. That's a million.
Millions.
Um,
It's you got a picture of the back?
I have pictures of the back. Well, it's not so much of the back, but it's of what's inside.
Yeah.
Because, of course, you didn't have sapphire case backs done. So we were looking at so the movement in isolation. And this was, okay, let me. This is the constant force 1 minute tourbillon with detente, triple detente escapement, and was created in and around 1860, and is the only one known in the history of watchmaking. Do you have any thoughts on this, Dan?
Well, first of all, we're all looking at something that was created under fire because there was no light yet. You know, I mean, it's really pure insanity to kind of think about that. This one, none of us have seen. This has been hidden away, and this is the only one that's
on record.
On record that is created. And for all who do know a bit of history about myself, my first timepiece was, resurrecting Louis Richard's detente escapement and somehow getting it into a wristwatch with shock protection, because you can't put it in a wristwatch without shock protection. So he's one of my biggest heroes. And it was just me and Cyril Brevet-Naudot, who got this to work, along with Luc Mounet, who's the genius behind all of it, and resurrecting this. And it took more than 3 years of research and development to get this into a wristwatch. So I am very familiar with this genius, and to see this for myself, just even in a picture, it's amazing. And to see what it's garnered, it just shows, I have something else coming out shortly, Flying Tourbillon, that I'm not saying exactly what it's all about just yet, but this is this is the only tourbillon Louis Richard detente out there, and it's at 3.9 million, and it's going to climb in the next one for sure if it ever sold again. But it's I don't even understand. All of us as watchmakers, we don't understand how they created these masterpieces without CNC. Usually it's not teams of people, at a big corporation with unlimited funds. These are people just like me in my workshop. And usually back then, it was in his house, truly in-house. And these are the masterpieces. So that's what goes along with, it's not just a watch. It's always about the story, the person's story, his historical value to inventing, because invention was an actual job, in the past. Like you could get a trademark and a patent on whatever your invention was, and you were actually protected globally, for large portion of your life, which obviously I think we all can see now it doesn't matter anymore. You could just change the littlest thing and anybody can make another iPhone, So
going back to 1860, tell us a little bit, why is this so fundamental? Why is Joe the detente statement to chronometer? Because this was.
I wish I could pull some parts out of my drawer here and show you, but they're so small. Some of my manufacturing parts for my past watch. So
we will get to that in time.
We'll get some pictures of it. We probably should have taken some. But the best way I can explain it is, because we all needed to tell time on our wrists is when we were mobile. Before we had time on computers and phones and everything. When you left the house as a little kid, your mom gave you a watch so you know what time to come back in from playing. I mean, even it started very young. So it had to become industrialized, and watches had to be made in vast quantities. So the lever escapement is good for that. It's not very many pieces. It can be made serially. Detente escapement is lots of pieces, and it's way too much money for mass production to produce. It doesn't make any sense. It's only for the artists to produce. because number one, it's a direct impulse escape, meaning there's no sliding, there's no friction, so it doesn't need any oil. Number one, so it doesn't. When I repair watches here, no matter what price range they are, no matter what, if they're one of the world's most complicated, crazy stuff, or if it's a basic vintage old Patek or whatever it may be, or a Vacheron, when I take the pallets out of it, hasn't been serviced every 5 years. It's going a long time, and the gentleman's or the lady is still wearing it. Somehow, some way, whatever has been trapped inside that case, it makes its way to the face of the two pallet stones. It's gummed up. It's got dust. Whatever it is, it tracks there because it's always moving very fast. So this gets rid of all that. So not only is it no oil, but throughout the years of use, it keeps the same chronometer accuracy. So as the pallets are flying back and forth with direct impulse, there's no sliding, there's no friction. Whereas a lever, as it hits the escape wheel tooth, looks like a little club. As it hits it, it has to slide in and then be released. So there's friction; it's always sliding. But the little amount of time loss and friction added for a mass-produced timepiece is all well and good for the masses. It's good as good enough. This is removing all that, and he put it in a tourbillon.
This is we're talking almost 200 years ago. We're talking like as I say, 1860. So a kick in the ass off 200 years. And
you got to light a candle to carve a tourbillon.
It's just literally comprehension how they were able to, how someone was able to create a work, like even today a working prototype is a huge undertaking. If it's
even though that some of us can get CNC machines, right? That it can't be a regular CNC machines. We need insane accuracies. Our accuracies of the machine we need to make some of those parts he made in that watch now, our accuracies that we need that gap is larger than the inaccuracies of people using CNC machines to make regular parts. So that if someone's making a car part, the CNC machine can be so imprecise. That imprecise measurement is larger than our parts. You follow, so we need specialized machines that are accurate. Plus or minus 2 or 3 microns is pretty good. And he made
There's
that.
There's another aspect to this in that there was a function on this piece that you could stop the release of energy by activating a slider on the side of the case. That meant that you could actually release the tourbillon and service it without the movement.
But you got to remember, from that time up until the 50s, I always like to use Patek as an example because it was always a fight who can make something more accurate. If it was for a ship chronometer, so they didn't hit icebergs and kill everybody, or if it was for a wristwatch because the trains had to be on time. We were starting to move all around. So we needed that. So it was a race. And then it was, okay, I got the accuracy, let's make it look nice. So who's the king of making it look nice? Who's the king of polishing? And that's why I like French and British watchmaking. It was more subdued when you look at the back of this. It's not just about, dipping some brass in some chrome, like playing a 1950s car bumper, and it's all flash and George Douglas, I can't remember the sentence in his book, but he writes something about that as well. Something to the effect of, guys who can't make it shiny, or, is in his own lingo kind of thing. These guys are just like, hey, here's my carborundum rubbed plates, and, they're just dipped in some gold rhodium, and here it is, man. But look at what I did. Look at my achievement. Look at the mechanicals. Look how accurate this watch keeps time. It's like I always say it's the same thing as in music as in heavy metal, because we're always trying to blow people off the stage. I could play my guitar better than you. I practiced 15 hours a day my whole youth. And I still do. And come on. Try to blow us off the stage if we're the headliner. It's kind of like that. That's the way Patek was in the 30s, 40s.
the 19th century version of Jackson and an AC30, man. And
yep.
This was full force in 1860. I can tell you, like, you know. But yeah, that was an absolutely extraordinary piece. And I think you mentioned that there's aspects of that there that resonate with yourself. We can talk about that again sometime, because I know that you're working on another incredible project, and I really look forward to zooming in on that as the airplane mode. Yeah. As we go forward with different episodes, because I want to really take a look at what you're working on as well. So that's exciting me. That's exciting me. So what we've actually done there, we've started with the Louis Richard triple détente constant force 1 minute tourbillon chronometer, which was the earliest of the watches that we have selected. So what we're going to do is jump to the next, which was released in circa 1878, and this, of course, will come from Louis Audemars. And Louis Audemars, obviously part of the Audemars Piguet dynasty, which goes back to into the 18th century. And where do I have that now? I know this is such a slick show, isn't it?
Flying in the seat of our pants, my man. Wow.
There we go. Huh? This is an exceptional piece. The Louis Audemars and Co. La Royale Super Complication. Estimated between 400 to 800,000 Swiss francs, which was probably a reasonable estimate. It achieved 2.516 million Swiss francs at the weekend in the auction, and an exceptional piece, because this was a super complication, and it featured 2 time zones, minute repeater with grand and petit sonnerie, the perpetual calendar, double Rotrepont chronograph with foudroyant, moon phases, retrograde date, and deadbeat seconds, and was the most complicated wrist or pocket watch ever made, I believe, and remains one of the most complicated watches ever made. Thoughts?
Just pure nuts. For someone here who, I work on complications all the time, something with that, I mean, it's incredible to see. I certainly would never, ever, ever want to be the person to take this thing apart, because that's just pure insanity. From a micromechanical standpoint, it's, as I was saying previously, it was about achievements back then. It's kind of like an FU. Look what we can do, and top that, bro. Blow you off the stage, and that's what this was.
1878 now. Look at that.
Not even
engineering.
I don't even know what to say when you look at something like that. Look, we're, as independents, we're all in awe of this stuff. This is what we achieved to do, not in this realm of complications, but the way these parts are made. If you look at all the springs, look at the shape of the springs, they're still intact. Okay, this is what I want to keep reiterating from my forthcoming tourbillon. Every single piece can be remade, just like this. You look at what you're looking at here. As complicated as that is, every single piece, every screw in this watch you're looking at here, this watch will be around for 1,000 years if it wants to be. Because any watchmaker trained, let's say it's Wostep in Switzerland, any traditional watchmaking school, will be able to make any part inside this watch. If one of those levers or springs or anything you see in there cracks or breaks, a wheel, a pinion, a gear, anything you're looking at here can be remanufactured within this, my atelier here, with all the machines I have here. All the newer watches that I work on, Johnny, are landfill. Pretty much most of them that I take apart here that are very expensive. Some of them are, 200 grand. When I take them apart, I see the thinness of all the parts, the springs, the wheels. These wheels and pinions cannot be remanufactured later on in a workshop like mine. They're made on different machines. They're not CNC. So as independents, a lot of us have risen to what Roger W. Smith kind of set forth in the beginning of independent, that, yeah, our watches might be a little thicker, but you know what? Deal with it, bro. But this is truly that hand-me-down generational timepiece. My watches that I'm producing, my new one, could be around forever. Pretty much just like this one. So that's what I think. If
someone was handing that down to me, I can tell you they would have pretty much have bought me. Let me tell you, it would be their property. I think,
So the people back then that created this, these are mad scientists. It's like, Einstein stuff.
Absolutely. If you look at as I say, it's a super complication, obviously, with so many different facets to it. One of the things that caught my attention early on was at the top towards the 12 o'clock, where on the dial side you have the retrograde calendar. There seems to be a crown gear arrangement there where the two wheels are interlocking at 90 degrees. And I was just thinking that the levers and the springs and the tolerances to create that in 1878.
Crazy.
I don't know. I've had to rethink my.
But you see how thick all the parts are. I know it's a pocket watch. So for all of you who are wondering, when you do pick up Remy Cools, or Offray, something like that, please, writers, don't write that the watch is a little thick on my wrist. We don't care, because these watches will be around, and your little thin watches are landfill. What you're looking at here, it's something that's going to be around forever. It's
just absolutely brilliant.
Some other things that come to mind when looking at something like this, besides the vast complications that it was doing, is that after all these years, if you look at the moon phase discs, they're still there. They're vibrant, which is really amazing. Whoever did the printing and the dial work, the enamel work, was a master.
Absolutely. It's it's astonishing. The craftsmanship, the technical innovation, the engineering, everything behind this is it's astonishing. And because a lot of the watchmakers, the young watchmakers, or not even young watchmakers. I was speaking about about Paul Gerber earlier on today, who's probably approaching the end of his career, but those people would have studied the work that was happening 200 years ago. And the reason that they do what they do, Dan, is to perpetuate that traditional form of craftsmanship. And I've said it before, I put it in a very small group of professions or trades or skills that the fundamentals are unchanged, like baking, brewing, distilling, cooking, joinery, woodwork, things you got there, mosaics. Those are handed down. The fundamentals have not changed in centuries.
Right.
And
that's what I try to talk about when we're together. I always try to push what I've been talking about the last 10 minutes or so. And it's good that we get to see some of these pocket watches, because this is what independent watchmaking is all about. This is how we differed when we first started to get elevated. Trying to explain to people, for someone like me, who I also repair some of the crazy stuff in my service center, is this: we are overbuilding our watches. We say that because people have got accustomed to watches that are thinner, and how thin can we make them? But then they go to get the service and they wonder, like, why is it taking 2 years to get my watch back? Isn't there someone that can service this? And the answer is no. And additionally, after 20 years of Swiss law, they don't have to produce parts for your watch anymore. That's Swiss law. So if they decide in 21 years that your very expensive, nice, thin, modern watch, that they don't want to sell parts and they don't want to repair it anymore, then guess where your watches land? Phil. That's where that word is coming from. But if you flip over to the indie side, most of us are making watches the old way. They might be a little thicker, they might be a little bigger. That's for that reason. We are looking at watches like we're looking at today. These are our mentors, even though they passed away. This is where we're pulling all our information from. This is for us micro mechanics. We're looking at that and going, holy crap, how do they do that? We're not looking at the modern guys who are designing everything in CAD. They're hiring movement designers and not even doing it themselves. They're putting together teams of people, and then all the parts are made through wire erosion, EDM, and lithography, or whatever. I mean, whatever this stuff is, that's not going to be around like these watches are going to be around. So try to elevate that a little bit.
Yeah, true. But there's a place for everything and everything in its place. And people are pushing continuously pushing the boundaries, pushing the parameters of technical innovation, and if that involves using the technology that's available today, that's fine, and there is a place for that without a shadow of a doubt. You try getting on the waiting list of some of those pieces that are using that kind of technology today, and you'll find
nothing wrong with pushing boundaries, and there's nothing. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with pushing technology and all that. And you have to embrace technology, but also know at the price range we're talking about from someone here who services watches and can't get parts. That the big watch companies do not sell parts anymore to any watch, pretty much any watchmakers. It's not the old days when my grandfather go to the parts house and get Patek Philippe parts.
Well, they want to bring it all in house, don't they? That the full cycle of sales and service.
End of life.
Yeah. And then you send your watch in for a service, and you find that it's something that was an essential part of that watch's personality, its value, has been taken out and changed because it's we needed to replace that part. Hang on, that watch that was worth what XYZ is now completely devalued because you've put in a brand new part.
It's actually way worse than that. Because they're not selling parts to anybody. So tourbillons there's tourbillons everywhere now, right? So when I see watches come in here, a tourbillon repeat, or whatever it is, because those past people that were in that watch can't get parts, and the customer doesn't want to send it back to Switzerland and wait 2 years. Parts are being made in-house, but let's just say by people who didn't go to watchmaking school.
Well, or who don't have the resources that a huge...
we're going to get it running somehow, because I'm not going to spend $50,000 to send it back to Switzerland and have something very complicated repair. If I could get it done, for 22, somebody's going to make the part, and that's what I'm seeing at my bench all the time now. So it's the collector is getting burned every which way but Sunday, and Sunday.
Okay. Listen, we're going to be here all night because we haven't even got through. As I say, I've selected 5 pieces. The next one I am going to talk about is from 1903, and it is by a Swiss watchmaker, Paul Ditisheim, who I honestly was not familiar with, but somebody was, because this piece was estimated between 60 and 120,000 Swiss francs. Do you know what it went for, Dan?
I do not.
It was 1.27 million, almost 1.3 million. That is 10 times the estimate that was originally placed on this piece. And so I had a look about a little bit about Paul Ditisheim. He's a Swiss watchmaker, and he was also a researcher of chronometric innovation. And one of the reasons I would say that this piece achieved the value that it did, in that it was Uh, it was awarded the highest points possible at the time by the Kew Observatory of 94.9 marks, which was a profound achievement in chronometric accuracy. As I say, and it was awarded by the Kew Observatory. His pioneering improvements in chronometer design included overcoiled springs, a Guillaume balance, pivoted détentes, and his refinements propelled timekeeping to new heights, as proven by this creation. And he produced very few tourbillons, so it was a piece that stood out to me. One, I loved the aesthetics. I love that. That is the definitive classical pocket watch.
Those hands, the hands are screaming at you. That's what.
Everything about it, like that. For sure.
Yeah, beautiful hands, beautiful.
Again, and he used the 3/4 plate, which was has come to define that northern Swiss. I assume with the name Ditisheim, he was closer to the German-speaking part of northern Switzerland, and so you could see the influence which would permeate through to glass-hooded watchmaking, which we will take a look at in a moment or two.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that tourbillon cage, the ornate, the finish. It is
by hand. You know, it's no titanium used back then, and somehow they managed to make a tourbillon. What everyone should probably start to put in the brain is, it's not like now, just recently, where you see tourbillons everywhere that can be made in a repetitive fashion, where each part is the same from one part to the third part or the 10th part on machinery. These tourbillons back then, they could take years and years and years of somebody's life to make one.
Yeah. Well, as I say, he created, I believe, 10. According to the Philips catalog, he created 8 in his career, and but this one featured the 1 minute tourbillon, as you see, with an Earnshaw spring détente escapement and gold and platinum timing screws in the free sprung balance. Absolute
crazy. It's see, once again, how the chronometer detente makes its way into a tourbillon. Obviously, this is a standard detente, which is much different than Louis Richard's invention, but still, that's, again, so everyone should be aware of the importance of this escapement. And it just was too complex to put into mass-produced watches. George Daniels, his escapement, it borrows a lot from detente escapement. He just had to figure out a way to make it where some company, obviously he was aiming towards Patek at first, to get it in a more mass-produced with less parts, because there's a lot of parts to like my escapement to produce.
Amazing.
This is just to see this. It's unbelievable. And to see the prices that pocket watches are finally getting recognition. I think we've all been waiting for that. I'm sure everyone who's got a drawer full of pocket watches is scurrying right now, pulling them out like, hey man, do I got anything here? Because these numbers.
But that was one of the more intense battles, bidding wars. And Goldfinger, the hands look a bit like Aaron Beck says. Yeah, and man, like you mentioned Aaron Beck say, Goldfinger. His new creation, I think he's breathed new life. He's refreshed his brand, and looking forward to speaking to Aaron in the future as well.
We all love him. We love him so much.
Absolutely. Like so many of these people that we know and love, just such a wonderful genius.
I always like to bring the music and comparisons.
Go for it.
I'm the only one, right? And him and V&A and Gerber, these are the guys that way back when I was in school, you know, there was no internet or anything. We you know, I remember looking in the back of, I think, Horological Times or some French magazine, watchmaking, and I saw that little ad for Paul Gerber. These guys were like us, you know, us in Metallica and Slayer and Megadeth when we first started, you know, in like 83, 84, trying to get the message out. Like we know what we got, right? We just got to somehow get it out there to people, and no record company's going to help us. They just want, you know, another Motley Crue.
Tell me about it.
Right. So it was the same thing. These guys were the pioneers of fuck you, pardon my language. I got something that the other guys don't got. I build my stuff like what we're looking at today, except it fits on the wrist. My stuff's here to stay. It's not for mass consumables. This is my wrist art, because they can see that computers were starting to take over and we're not going to need time like we did previously. So it has to become micromechanical art for our wrist. And they were all of them were way ahead of their times, just like our music was way ahead of its time. But eventually it all catches up. And, you know, because once in a while you get somebody new moves over into the independent side and they say, well, how do you tell the time on that thing? And they're not getting it. You know, it really is. It's our art. So if you like my art, this is my art, my micromechanical art. If you like his art, none of us are the same. We're not trying to be a big brand, but we're all borrowing from this, what you're seeing here today. The last watch we saw, you know, one of the most complicated watches in the world, the way those were produced is the same way, say, the Grubel Forsey handmade was produced nowadays. A team of outside people who are specialists in just one part of the movement. One person is one of the best, making most accurate pinions in the world. He's part of the team. Another person can make main plates so accurate we don't even know how, or his springs or his finishing, whatever it may be. Those teams were assembled, and it was the same way back then. It wasn't. Don't think it was just a big brand and everyone under their roof. They just pulled people from different departments. That's not the way it was, and that's what independent is now. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, that one that we're looking at there, folks, just for reference, was also in the Phillips auction, and it was a Gruyère Forsey by Philippe Dufour, by Michel Boulanger, Naissance d'une Montre, and that was created literally using similar type of approach to watchmaking as we have seen from the pocket watches. This was a real labor of love. It was a watch that was, I think Michel Boulanger was the actual watchmaker who put it all together, but the whole project was overseen by Philippe Dufour with Gruyère Forsey.
Yeah, there's a couple of videos I know on YouTube. If you dig deep, you'll see them, the two of them in Dufour's workshop, you know, kind of brainstorming and trying stuff. And that's the way it should be. It's just like music. So you got your own band. See, again, here we go.
Yeah,
absolutely. Got your own band, right? You're doing just well. But guess what? You know, to get your yayas out, you know, you're into other kinds of music. You want to experiment and do stuff. What do? You jam with other people. If it clicks, it clicks. Okay, dude, that was great last night. How about we do like just 3 songs? We'll put them out. You know, the people we don't care if everybody of our fans like it. Some will, some won't, whatever. But it's to please our passion. You know, we're filled up like to here, and then it keeps going. It keeps going, and if we don't get it out, it's the same as music. You gotta get it out, otherwise we'll blow up. We want to be one of those guys like the conspiracy theories on the internet where you're just walking along, you're self-combusting, you're gone.
We are going to move on from 1903 to 1928. I was trying to find an analogy there. Segue. Music, but you know, there is no like there's no words. That wasn't happening in those days. Like then and now is that you probably would have been locked up in an institution if you were coming out. You would have failed.
That's what my if I ever do a repeater, Johnny, you know what I'm saying? That's my gong, man.
I want in on the action on that one. You know, and we'll do it the in the metal limited edition, and you know, but anyway, to 1920 And the one I was looking for, again, a name that is comes up nowadays because Charles Frodsham is a name that is being revived today, and that there's new pieces with the Charles Frodsham name. But the original Charles Frodsham was a company that was set up in the mid 1800s, and so what we have here is his minute repeater with split second chronograph and 1 minute tourbillon, and another exceptional piece. And now this one was estimated down, as I said, some of the estimates were way out of whack, as we've seen with a couple of the previous pieces. This one probably a little bit more conservatively estimated between 70 and 140,000. If you thought you were going to come home with that watch for 140k, I am sorry. It hammered down at 406,000 Swiss francs, which for this piece was still, I think it represented a kind of modest return in comparison to some of the other pieces that went through on the same sale. So Charles Frodsham, minute repeater, split second chronograph with tourbillon. Your thoughts?
It's like, first off, as far as the monetary value of these, in normal times, that we'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe that's what they got for that, the other ones are just making this seem like it didn't get a good return on its money, but it certainly did. This would normally be like, oh my God, like I can't believe what they're getting for pocket watches. I'm just glad to see all of this really come to light, Johnny, that everyone is recognizing the extreme value of that these pieces are art. Even back then, the story that's attached to all of this is art. It's so much art that people are just resurrecting a name, and the history and the story of a person, because along with the name is their inventions. You can look it up in the patent office of their inventions, and a lot of the inventions were never completed. Well, they were never. They never can be used in a wristwatch due to us, moving around with our wristwatch in all different positions and the shocks of a wristwatch. So there's a lot of inventions out there that we can borrow and move into the wristwatch, and these are the pioneers of all that. And you could just, even if you're not super knowledgeable or a complication expert such as myself, you could see and look at all these gears and pinions and levers and just see that they're just built like a brick shithouse.
Look at that, man. Absolutely. Astonishing again. But the thing about every piece that we're looking at here today, Dan, pretty much exclusively no electricity. They're made using tools that were created for in a time before electric power and even electric light. And I was literally taken aback. Now I shouldn't be, because I'm familiar. I've looked at classical and historic watchmaking for years, but to actually spend time and really zooming in on a macro level to create these images for this episode, and it's amazing to see, and probably just right to see this explosion in awareness of this.
Look, you're looking at a column wheel chronograph before there was light bulbs. It's really mind-boggling.
There it is up there, top right.
And remember, I see complicated watches.
Yeah.
There stops, because each one of these watches we're seeing here, these are super complicated watches.
These are super complicated.
it's still, for someone such as myself, I'm in awe. You know, it's just my.
Yeah, they were era-defining pieces of their time. Each one was
yes, 100%.
Era-defining, and so I'm not. Whenever we say like that it didn't hit the same kind of figures that some of the previous pieces did. What I did do was more than double its high estimate, and in fact, 140, it damn nearly trebled its high estimate of 140,000 by hitting 406,000. Amazing. And I have to say, watching the auction happen over the weekend and just watching the lots closing.
I think it's wonderful for all of us, for the collectors, yes, one thing, but that people are recognizing how freaking hard it is for us as indies to produce these watches. Sometimes it's just me, it's like one person or two, you know, you pick a Remy Cools, you know, it's him and one other person producing this stuff. Pretty much, you know, everything is in-house. I mean, we might have somebody make the case for us or a dial, because those are special industries. We can still do it, but, you know, leave it to someone who does it all the time. It's great that the recognition of the difficulties it takes is being understood, and it's not just, hey, I can polish, you know, look at my inward angle, you know, and the polishing, because it's really about the micromechanics. It's not about the polishing. That's good that everyone's being educated about goes to Genève and what it is, but it's really the mechanics. As you can see on these watches, there was a race back then of accuracy and showing off, just like Van Halen would pick up his guitar and go, ha 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 ha. And guess what? When he did all this stuff in the beginning, he turned his back. It's like, I'll show you later, bro. You can see it for now, but you can hear it. You know, I'm going to blow you away. It's the same thing. But back then, it was more of a race for accuracy, for, you know, winning awards in accuracy. Yep. It wasn't just winning awards and polishing to make something look nice. We really needed accurate timekeeping to save lives. So it was a different time. Now, I'm just very happy that the knowledge is getting out there and people could see all this. And that's why the whole indie world, in the auctions of people, friends of mine, their watches are just going crazy.
Yeah,
because they know the same thing. We're all doing the same thing to each other. It's like my new watch. It's not for me to just blow someone else off the stage when I'm creating in my flying tourbillon. A lot of it hasn't been done, or it's sideways, hasn't been done, because almost everything has been done. It's for me. It's my passion. It's the same as when I play guitar. I'm not trying to be better than someone else when I was playing guitar. I was trying to create my own unique sound. So when you put the laser on the CD or the needle on a record, that within 2 or 3 seconds that you knew that was me. And I feel that that's where indie should be. You know, develop that. As soon as you see it, you don't need a name on the watch. Anyway, you know who it is.
Yeah.
That's what we should all be striving for.
I am going to close the review that we've got with one final piece from 1935, so almost just yesterday. But it was by a watchmaker called Karl Geitz. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but again, this whole project has been kind of a journey of discovery for me. And but firstly, I stopped on this piece not because of the eye-watering numbers, although 355,000 with an estimate of 80 to 160,000 is still pretty eye-watering. I stopped on this piece because the aesthetics just grabbed me. The aesthetics of this dial just grabbed me. And so I dived a little bit deeper and discovered that this was by a watchmaker called Karl Geitz. And this was produced in 1935. This was his school watch. His school watch now. He made this whenever he was 22 years of age, right? And it is a flying tourbillon with a spring détente escapement. and was a watch that, for a school watch, won first prize in special class in the Deutsche Sewart chronometry trials in Hamburg, which at the time was the most prestigious recognition possible. And it represented the absolute limit of mechanical refinement achievable by any watchmaker at the time, let alone a student. And I just was absolutely smitten by it. And if we look at the mechanism itself, that's on a par with the best that you would get even today.
Look at the snelling. Look at the Geneva stripes, the way they are. Very, very almost Philip Dufour angle. You can see.
I didn't want to say the words, but you're not far off. This 22 years of age watchmaker. He is acclaimed as being the father of modern German watchmaking. He not only created this, but he actually went back into educating a new generation. So he was. He
was the school teacher guy. Now I remember. Right, and he kept teaching. Like, didn't he? Didn't he keep teaching?
Yeah, he did.
Yes.
A remarkable thing I noticed that he taught in the Deutsche Uhrmacher School between the years of 1936 and 1945. So that's right throughout the Glasgow school, right throughout the war, and then following the end of the war, he founded a specialized watchmaking class, which now is known as the Karl Geitz School of Watchmaking in Frankfurt am Main. And he continued working until 1979. And one of the things that he did was to produce these large-scale models of the escapements. And but the legacy, to have created this at 22 years of age, that is some kind of prodigious talent.
Amazing. Just the snelling, it's like you can see like if you look at the Langenheim, very similar. That they're some of the best snelling I've ever seen in any timepiece.
I agree.
Ever been in front of my eyes, and it's very similar there. It's like deep, really gougy kind of lines. It's done with pastes. So for anyone that doesn't know, I prefer the old school way with wood and pastes. Because the paste seems to roll around and no two stripes next to each other seem to be the same. And you use the modern 3M papers, it becomes very mechanical looking. Even though everything is nice in the same angles, it doesn't give the humanness of haphazard scrape marks, let's say. I like that when it's more human and things aren't perfect.
Yeah. It was astonishing. I wanted to mention that because that piece stood out to me, not only because of its aesthetics and how it appealed to me, and but the actual finishing of the movement, and I thought it was a spectacular.
And for those to understand who haven't gone to watchmaking school in Switzerland or Germany or France, those big models are so incredibly helpful. When Antoine Simonet used to teach us, at Worcester, I went to school there at the same time as Delaney and everybody else. He would call us downstairs to the basement in the morning. First half of the day was, the big balance wheel. It was in plexiglass, and he could explain everything and show the hairspring and show all the different. It's all calculus for us. It's all mathematics every day. But you don't just sit at the bed so people understand.
Again, for me, learning with these things, I'm looking at slow-mo. At slow-mo models of these escapements to understand, to be able to come and talk to you, a master of complications, a master of escapements and horology, so to inform myself. I often refer to videos of these escapements,
Yeah.
often done in slow
What,
motion.
what all you guys don't ever get to see nowadays is like now with my flying tourbillon. If I could show you the CAD, okay, you're just thinking I just make things like in 3D and it's a part. But if I would just strip that all away and I show you all the mathematics that I have to do, it would, in the old days, it would be like hundreds of pages for one part of the angles of where everything, how thick something is, where the screw goes, where this pin fits into another pin, how deep it can be. It's just math. It's just beyond calculus. I don't even know what you call it, because I'm just a creator. And thank goodness that the computers can do all this kind of stuff. But it's all, everything we do when we create is it's layers and layers and layers of it's just a screen full of math, you know? So when I say, you know, I'm tired or I'm worn out, you know, creating, it's not just cutting a piece of metal and see if it fits. You know, nowadays we can do everything inside, you know, the CAD programs, and we can see it. We can see the math in three dimensions by moving it all around. They didn't have that back then. They created all this stuff.
None of that.
You know,
and that's why I
think they put their hand on the Bible, and then they didn't sleep for like 6 months just trying to figure stuff out in their brain. I have no idea, man. I have no idea.
Isn't it a good thing that they did? Because they have left this legacy. I tell you a question, and we've just run over the hour mark there, so I want to wrap this up very shortly here. A question I had was, so if these people had not done this, where would watchmaking be today? Would it even be a thing? I'm sure it would in some form. There was obviously, we go back to the 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th century for different methods of telling the time. Mankind and his pursuit of innovation and his pursuit of knowledge and learning would have come up with something better than the sundial or the hourglass. And you know, so that was always gonna happen. But it just,
well, back then it was, you know, we started to move around in ships. We had to move goods around the world, and we didn't have, you know, GPS in our iPhones. So you know, the ship's chronometers were the most important part of the ship. It wasn't that the ship could float; it was the ship's chronometer that they wouldn't run aground. Money drives industry, and you know, if there's a need, they'll find someone to you know, back then, an inventor, to figure something out. It's really weird that we don't use that word anymore. No one's really, like, even when I grew up, I remember having friends like, what does your father do? And you know, he was an inventor. It was still around a little bit, you know, when patents were strong, because back then, really, you could invent something. You could invent the Ziploc on a Ziploc bag, and you're set. That's it. Okay. Okay. I got enough money for the rest of my life. What else can I invent? You know,
I was thinking of one of those little inventions, the wrong plug. Do you know the plug you insert into this a plaster into a wall, and you stick the screw into it to hang something up. Man, I was looking that up, and it was such an invention that is.
Still going on. There's a lot of people in our industry that do hold patents on certain mechanisms and things like that. That are so different that it would be somewhat hard, but I mean, it's almost like you could just change the littlest thing, and there's no court anywhere that's going to uphold almost any patent anymore. It's really disheartening for all of us who are inventors, which is me.
Listen, it's been an hour. It's been an absolute blast to be in the saddle here with a legend who, as I said in my intro to it, he straddles two disparate universes, one of hell-raising breakneck fury of trash rock and roll, trash metal rock and roll, and the other of haute horlogerie, master of complications. Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure. Will we do this again with we'll get a watchmaker on board and have a look at their world in the next few weeks, hey?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm in my service center for those who don't know. So I'll be back on my bench doing some restaffing today. And in the evenings and 3 days a week, it's full on for my Flying Tourbillon indie release forthcoming. So I'm a little worn and tattered, but this is kind of the way I like it. So I'm up for anything.
No rest for the wicked.
With you, I love you tons, Johnny, and you know that, man. So any way we can get this message out and some information to people, and chat with some of the people. I mean, in the beginning, our whole goal, just so everybody knows, so in the beginning when me and Johnny decided to do this, and I said yes, was to get some of my heroes in video form who they didn't want the camera, they didn't really give interviews, and it was just knowledge from other watchmakers. So we enjoy it so much. We'll come on and educate whoever we can, even if it's just a little bit of education. I hope it is, and I hope you get great enjoyment from our loose way.
Very often it's I get educated. So as I say, every day is an early day. To everybody who has watched this and supported us, it really feels good to be back within the metal. It feels that there's it's got an objective, there's direction, there's longevity in it, and so it's fantastic. Thank you for supporting us. We would ask, let your friends know if you know anybody who's got the slightest interest in watchmaking, particularly in the independent watchmaking, artisanal watchmaking. Let them know. Get them to follow us. We love getting more eyeballs on this, and but we will be back again. I'll be back with Jay, I think, next week, and then Dan, I think maybe in a couple of weeks' time, I'll have a watchmaking talent to lined up to bring you, and we will do another one of these very soon. For now, folks, thank you very, very much indeed, and hope you enjoyed it. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you think, and we will catch up with you very soon indeed.